Once you've satisfied your hunger, get ready for more of the hottest casino games in Vegas. Our 24-hour, 30-table non-smoking poker room proudly hosts all the most popular poker games with a variety of betting limits. Visit the poker room for a schedule of daily tournaments. Whether you're going to hold 'em or fold 'em, the best place for poker is at South Point Casino. You'll notice that our craps tables are usually the loudest in the casino. If you've never played, join one of our free craps lessons to find out what makes this game so exciting. Check with the craps dealer for schedules and give it a roll. Bingo is also an exciting way to spend your time. We offer 7 sessions of bingo every day. Bingo! And each session includes a cash ball jackpot, 12 bingo games, a progressive double action game, and a $10,000 bonus coverall. Electronic units are available. If you haven't played bingo with us, give it a try today. Guests can also get in on the action at our one-of-a-kind race and sports books. 2 separate rooms designed to maximize your experience and comfort. Our sports book, with over 400 seats, puts you right in the middle of the action, 24 hours a day. The friendly ticket writers are happy to help, and it's conveniently located next to the famous Del Mar Deli, where you'll find supersized portions of delicious deli items like roast beef, pastrami, and Reuben sandwiches, or soups, salads, and pizza, plus spectacular desserts fit for a king. And right next door is the race book, over 150 seats, each with its own TV screen. There are 16 interactive player terminals, so you can bet right from your seat.
Welcome in. Good afternoon, everyone. It is Free Throw Friday. I'm Jeff Parles, joined by Sportsbook Director Chris Andrews, Vinny Magliulo as well, 2 Hall of Famers to my right. Gentlemen, good afternoon.
Jeffrey.
We got a lot to get to. Chris, my usual co-host, Alex White, of course, off on Fridays.
I know. And
so you don't even get the taunter with your Wolfpack
I even
shirt.
had my Wolfpack hat.
Oh, man. Wow.
I was hoping she'd show up.
I'll represent the local university, having been a tuition contributor. That's right.
Multiple times, right, Vinny?
3 times. That's correct. Yes.
But that's a game we will touch here today. Of course, a lot of college basketball. Guys, it's the last day of February.
Oh, man, I know.
Just lightning fast to the first 2 months of the year.
Selection Sunday? Selection Sunday, 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
I was just going to say, my wife, this was like a month ago, she made some arrangements for March 1st. She got some people coming in from out of town. She goes, we're supposed to meet, Terry and Brad tomorrow. Is that tomorrow? March 1st tomorrow? Is that are you serious? It kind of caught me by surprise, like a lot of us.
Caught me by surprise 2 days ago, and then when I realized, like, Saturday, it's March, finally. I mean, crazy.
Yeah, 2 weeks to
2 weeks from selection. Sunday. Real quick, actually, I wasn't intending to start here, but because we're 2 weeks from selection, Sunday, you'll have the committee in the back.
Oh, yeah.
Not the selection committee, the where's the line going to open committee in the back.
The committee that everybody wants to know.
You guys will have those numbers up as quickly as possible
and
on Selection Sunday.
Just to reiterate, and everybody that knows us kind of knows this, we open our numbers. We don't see the rest of the market. We're opening, and if you're at the counter, 10,000 a rattle. Come on in.
Not up there for show.
Yeah.
Be a lot of fun. Can't wait for it. Going to be a hell of a tournament, as it always is. Again, the best party in Las Vegas, upstairs. Free parking, cheap eats.
Free party.
Also.
Free admission.
Free admission. Get there early. That's all I'll say. Get there early, especially on Thursday and Friday.
Michael called me out one day, just joking around. He says, "Hey, what do we charge for seats up there?" And I says, "Park your car or park your ass. It's the same price." And he loved that. He thought that was great. And it's true. That's what we do at the South Point.
Look, a lot of people will be parking their ass up there for sure, to say the very least. I know I will be, especially those first 2 days once all duty's in the studio.
Now, you're the meatball sub.
Meatball or pulled pork guy?
I'm the pulled pork guy.
It's probably be one day, one the other day this year.
I might do the same. Yeah. I might do the same.
Naturally. I mean, you can't do. You have to do both.
Yeah, they're both
obligated.
Well, I mean, look, meatball subs up your alley, Vinny. We know that.
Well, don't forget, you got lunch and dinner.
What?
I mean, So.
Well, that's it. Might even be breakfast.
Trust me, I've done that too. All right, going into the prop first for futures. We'll look at some futures, then we'll get into some bigger games today. And then, of course, the SEC, as it always is, has 3 monsters tomorrow that will go through all of them, including that Tennessee-Bama game, which could dictate a number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament potentially. But let's start, Chris. Of course, you put the prop up. About a month ago now, a little over a month ago. Field versus Southeastern Conference in basketball, not football, in basketball.
Yeah.
That's the day and age we're in now in 2025. The bettors have taken the SEC after the initial push on the field. Now plus 110 on the Southeastern Conference, minus 130 on everybody else right now.
Yeah. And look, who is everybody else? Well, you got 2 pretty big dogs right up front, Duke and Houston.
Yeah.
And then you just kind of go from there. You got Marquette, you got Iowa State, you got, St. John's. Obviously, you got a lot of very talented top teams. But the SEC, even though they kind of lost their bragging rights for football, they've kind of regained it in basketball because right now they are clearly the most dominant basketball conference. But, Jeff, we've talked about it. Strange things happen in this tournament. Somebody's going to come out of nowhere. I don't know who that is, but somebody's going to do that, and they could easily half these teams could be upset in the first round. Vinny.
Yeah, no doubt about it, Chris. And the good thing is 2-way action on the prop.
Yeah.
Where is that? Where's my key?
Somebody.
Thank you.
Okay.
So it initially opened. You never know where I'm going to go. Be careful. I'm a little tricky sometimes. So the initial money came in on the field, Chris. They laid the 60 up to 75,
right.
And now it's been kind of a steady stream of SEC money. In fact, I was just chatting with one of our locals out here and said, "Look, I'm taking a serious look at it." I contacted you yesterday.
Yeah.
Said he likes the field.
He said he'd be in, and he's going to be back.
He laid 60. He must love if he likes $1.60. He's got to love laying $1.30.
I think that's not an exact quote, but paraphrasing, that's pretty much what he said. Yeah.
So, no, it's good. It's a lot of fun, and it certainly makes you think about what your options are before we put up the regions and the big future book.
That's the other thing we do here at South Point. We have fun with it, and
and
we try to create action. We had the football one,
it
was Ohio State and Georgia. Georgia, of course, had a very disappointing year, but the money was on the field throughout most of the year. Whatever we have it up, we put it up in September, I think. But and then of course.
Ohio State does
Ohio State wins it.
I think the Bear had
the Bear Felica. He was first out of the gate. He took Ohio State and Georgia, but he would be the first to tell you Georgia was very disappointing this year. But Ohio State came through in the end for him. Yeah. So glad to see the Bear cash a ticket.
And then just looking at the overall futures board, non-prop related, Vinny, I want to ask you because I asked this of Kaluch this morning, and we kind of talked about over the last few weeks, Auburn and Duke kind of separated themselves from the pack. And ever so quietly, the Houston Cougars have now, to me, have reached that, not quite in the price, but at least for my rankings, they've now clearly moved up to number 3 and are much closer to those 2 than anyone has been in a while now. And Kelvin Sampson has done just such an outrageously good job there to legitimately go from the American Athletic, no disrespect, to the best league in America consistently, not this year, but consistently the Big 12 over the last half decade has been the best league.
Yeah, or the last decade, I'd say.
Even
they're good. It's a good second best conference in the country.
And back-to-back regular season titles. Right away, going to win the regular season league probably by 3 games this go around at least. I think they're on the same level as Duke and Auburn at this point.
I would say I've got them about 2 to 3 points, separated.
Pretty tight.
So, I mean, I have definitely Auburn and Duke. But Houston is playing great. They, had a couple of slip. But listen, during the course of the season, everybody.
It's a long year.
Okay. It's going to have some pitfalls. I thought they made a statement, though, this week when they swept Iowa State, right? So that's because Iowa State was playing well. Iowa State has kind of been exposed. I know we'll get to them because they have their second game against Arizona coming up. But I thought Houston made a really good statement in their last couple of games. And then, of course, Florida is close. I've got Florida about a point behind Houston. So those are my top four right now in terms of power ratings.
I'm really just starting to make numbers just now. Just really started looking. And I would agree with you that Houston's about 2.5, according to my ratings, behind Auburn and Duke, which I have virtually tied. And then after that, it's a little bit of a crapshoot. I think probably Florida would be next, but Bama's been inconsistent, but they're up there. Tennessee, again, they're up there. Then there's probably another little drop off after that, But again, I'm just really I'm interested. I made numbers on the games you gave me, Jeff, and I'm interested to see how I come out. And I would tell you right now, I'm going to trust your two numbers more than mine, but I am getting started on it. So.
No, it's good. And then the exercise that we do, Chris, when we put up the games on selection.
Well, I got 2 weeks to get up
fun.
to speed, Vinny.
So you got plenty of time, Chris.
Betting on you.
You got plenty of time.
On you, buddy.
I will tell you, too, because you're both here. We'll ask the question. Conference tournaments start
tomorrow
on Sunday.
Sunday.
Yeah.
Sunday,
smaller conferences.
The Atlantic Sun is the first one up.
Okay.
We can name who's even in the Atlantic Sun. That's a job well done by everyone. North Alabama, by the way, the 1 seed in that conference tournament.
You would have gotten that. Okay.
Yeah, it was either them or Lipscomb. But how futures-wise for the conference tournaments, when will you have those up? Will it be bigger leagues? Will we have some smaller leagues coming out next week, or is that still to be determined, Chris?
We don't do the smaller leagues. I used to put them, every single one of them up, and usually we just don't get any business on it.
About the games,
Yeah, I mean, I always say our business is, it's a little different in a lot of ways, but essentially it does come down to supply and demand. And we get the supply any damn thing we want, but if there's no demand for it, then it's just an exercise in futility. And these small conferences, they just don't do any business. And it's one more thing for me to worry about for no action really, unless I make a mistake or something like that. And then of course we get plenty of action. So I'm not going to put up the smaller conferences.
All right. So we'll be on the lookout. Not this week, but next week.
Probably next week.
But the games, obviously, all the games will be up. First halves and halftime.
As they are for every single game throughout the year, extra board or not. Tell you right now, that week, that big week, the bigger week, since there's one less conference tournament in Vegas this year because Pac-12 obviously
doesn't exist.
We'll see again in 2 years.
Yeah.
But it's interesting this year. I actually think, other than the WCC, which is the first week, and we'll get to WCC stuff in a little bit, because Gonzaga and San Francisco are playing for, amazingly enough, Gonzaga might not even get the double bye.
That's a seeding game.
That's a seeding game. St. Mary's in action. Curious to see where both of you have them rated. The Big West tournament has 2 teams in Irvine and UC San Diego that could both legitimately have 28 wins going into the conference championship game.
That's
pretty unheard of for that league.
That's impressive, yeah.
It would be 29 for UC San Diego if they win out, 28 for Irvine if they win out.
We went to that one St. Mary's Gonzaga game that year, didn't we, Vinny?
Yes.
You were with us, right?
Yeah, at the Orleans.
Went down,
it was great. Yeah. Great. Good turnout, good support, good games.
Those Gonzaga fans always travel to.
No, they do. No doubt. St. Mary's too. Really, in recent years, they've had a pretty good showing.
All right, let's go to some games here tonight on some lines we do already have. And we start in the Big Ten. Purdue's lost 4 in a row. It's been a bad stretch for Purdue. You don't see this type of losing streak in the regular season from Painter. But here you go now. You play a UCLA team that's won 1 game east of the state of Arizona this year. All their other wins have come on the West Coast or in the Pacific time zone. Yes, I know Arizona's Mountain Standard. I realize that. But UCLA, 6-point dogs in this game, and it's been Purdue open 5.5 up to 6. Total's been what's jockeyed more from 140 to 138.5 on this one.
Well, my numbers came to Purdue 5.
Right on it.
So, I was with kind of the opener. It's kind of an interesting game. Two teams with an awful lot of flaws. We'll see how they come out of this one.
Tied, right? This is a positioning game too. When you look at it, we're going to start seeing games for seeding. And are they really that big a deal? Not a lot. But both these teams identical in the conference standings. at 11-6. Not a real surprise that Purdue's seeing the support here, and frankly, look, they're not the same as they were a year. I thought, and no secret, right? 80's gone, very guard reliant, and just have not been able to make the kind of shots that they were making early in the season from the perimeter. They're very perimeter oriented, but look, this is the time of year they try to get things right. But both of these teams, I've had to downgrade Purdue in the last month. I've got them down 3 points on their power rating.
I never really fully bought this Purdue team this year.
Yeah,
it's just so hard when you lose a guy like Edey, who is, look, love him, hate him, dominant force one way or another in college, and an all-time great at the collegiate level. It's so hard when you have to just totally redo your thing. As good as Trey Kaufman-Renn is, he's not Zach Edey. No. And I was a little surprised they got out as well as they did. 4 straight losses. And in all honesty, if you look at the 4 losses, other than the Indiana game, they lost to 1, 2, and 3 in the league.
Yeah.
So I can't really ding. We can ding them for the Indiana game. That was a horrible second half.
But there's been several of those games, not just by Purdue, but when as we get into the card here, we're going to see several of those again. Desperate teams, right? There are a lot of bubble teams out there, and they catch you. They're desperate teams or dangerous teams.
I have no idea what to make out of UCLA, though. Still have no clue. I think they're solid. They're well coached.
Yeah, they're not as good as
they're not a good free throw shooting team. We know that
they're not, and they're not as good as they were in the last couple of years either.
Yeah. Well, that team 2 years ago was a essential buzzer beater from Gonzaga from being in the Elite Eight 2 years ago. So, I mean, they probably would have got destroyed by UConn like everyone did in the UConn Invitational the last 2 years. All right, let's go to another Big Ten game. Yes, UCLA was a Big Ten game, and still got to remind ourselves, even though we're going to be a year in now with
Unbelievable.
that. So 18 teams in the Big Ten. Only 15 will go to Indianapolis. And right now, these two teams that play each other in Evanston tonight are battling it out to get to Indy. Iowa and Northwestern. Northwestern has started to play a little bit better. The big wins back-to-back. They destroyed Ohio State in Columbus. They won in Minneapolis earlier this week. Now they return home to play Iowa. Vinny, it's 4. It's 150.5 on this game. Quite honestly, this could be Fran McCaffrey's last ride if Iowa doesn't make it to even the conference tournament, which, well in doubt, if they lose tonight, they're probably in a favor to not make the conference tournament at this point.
Well, especially with the tiebreaker, right, the head-to-head. Now, Iowa has done well against Northwestern in the last couple of years. They've actually done well on this floor. I think they won 3 out of the last 4 games.
Easy trip for the fans.
Well, yeah, right. And but certainly in a hostile setting, Northwestern's good, hard-nosed. It'll be, I think, a physical game. The not surprised the total came down, and I think it may continue to come down. But the initial money came in on. I know we're sitting at 4 now. The initial money, I think, came in on Northwestern. The game got as high as 5 very early. But, but I think there's a little bit of history here favoring the Hawkeyes.
My numbers came to 5 on this game. And, again, I made these. I never even looked at what was on the board. I just wanted to see how close my numbers were. I do remember a good friend of ours who's been a friend of the show, Trent Condon, who's from Iowa, and an Iowa fan, a Hawkeye fan. And I just, we follow each other on Twitter. We've talked occasionally. And he said early in the year, he says, boy, this Iowa team just, I don't know, because they just don't have it. It's just not, and they're used to having at least good representative teams, really going back, again, decades. But he said early on there was something wrong with this Iowa team. Again, just maybe that got lodged in my brain a little bit. So I made Northwestern 5 here.
Staying off. The only thing that I considered would be the under. I know Iowa does not play a lot of defense. They play fast, but kind of play like a important playoff game where things get a little bit tighter, longer possessions down the stretch potentially. But again, it's Iowa. Iowa could spike a 90-point game on their own. They could also give up 90 on their own,
right.
and that's always a problem in any sort of total that is even in the 150s in a college game. All right, let's go to the game that's on Chris's shirt here. Nevada UNLV late night at Thomas and Mack, 8 o'clock local time start.
I was thinking about going. I said, man, that's past my bedtime.
2.5 on this one. The boys from Reno favored in this one, a total of 134. The totals have been active today. This guy's bounced all over the place. This is the peak of it right now. Nevada's been an underachiever this year. I think there's just been too much talent on this team to be middling in this league. And UNLV, Deaton Thomas has not been healthy recently. Again, another disappointing team for another disappointing season, I should say, for the Rebs. I found no value in this game. I thought these numbers were spot on here for this one.
My numbers came to Nevada 2 in this one. So
I mean, they laid the numbers, right, Chris? They laid the 1.5. I think they laid 1.5.
we had
and
1.5 at
2.
one point.
We did. That opened it.
Yeah.
I think 3 will be a take on the Rebels if it gets to 3.
Yeah, it's just, again, these teams are pretty well locked in. The Mountain West, 11 teams, top 5 go right to the quarters.
Mm-hmm.
Both of these teams can't even get up to the 5 seed right now.
No.
It's been just a matter of who gets to 6, who gets to 7. There's not really much of a difference because the bottom of the Mountain West with Air Force and Wyoming, even though Wyoming did come to UNLV and win earlier this year, just not
haunting the Rebels.
Well, they always seem to, right, Vinny? Even though UNLV went up to what is that? It's over 6,500 feet in Laramie and won earlier in the year as well.
It doesn't matter. They play inside.
Whose line was that, Chris?
Tarkanian.
Oh, yeah, that's
Because his own players were saying,
line.
Coach, we're going to be okay. We're playing at elevation.
I love that.
Don't worry about it. You're playing inside.
That's so good. That's so good. I love that.
Classic.
It's classic.
I think Tark believed it, though. I don't think.
I was going to say, I'm not sure Tark was in on the joke, but
that I agree with you.
That's great. That's great. All right, we'll take a quick break. When we get back, chat along with us. We'll see how we go. We got a lot of games to get to on Saturday, and we'll go through it. We'll answer questions, and we'll go from there. When we get back, Sports by the Books, Free Throw Friday.
We have 11 amazing restaurants featuring a wide variety for every price range and appetite. South Point's Garden Buffet has something for everyone at unbeatable prices. Or if hunger strikes in the middle of the night, join us at Coronado Cafe. The American menu offers breakfast, lunch, or dinner 24 hours a day, plus a Chinese kitchen for authentic Chinese dishes from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. From steak and eggs to wonton soup, it's fast and friendly service 24/7. When you need a quick pick-me-up, you can find it at our state-of-the-art Starbucks just inside the main South Point entrance. Order ahead with the Starbucks app for easy mobile order pickups. Or enjoy your favorites in the relaxing dining area anytime, day or night. If you love Mexican food, Baja Miguel's has all of your south of the border favorites. There are dozens of classics to choose from, like fajitas, ceviche, chimichangas, tacos, and more. And for spirit lovers, Baja's colorful non-smoking tequila bar is right outside.
Welcome back in. It's Free Throw Friday here at the South Point studio on Sports by the Book. I'm Jeff Parles. Chris Andrews is here. Vinny Magliulo is here as well. Jerry's here also. Jerry's got some good basketball takes also, so be on the lookout for that after the show on the YouTube page. Right, Jerry? Yeah, they see. He's all over it. No. He's a big Rockets fan back there. But you know, we got a good collection of games here on this Saturday. This is the final full Saturday
it is.
of the college basketball regular season because a lot of these smaller conference tournaments will be getting going next week. So there'll be less games next Saturday. So it'll still be about around 90. It just won't be a 154 game monster like we've had over the last 2 months on these Saturdays. And we begin, Chris and Vinny, with the one that it's a computer sticker for Chris, but not a shirt here today, and that's the Nittany Lions of Penn State, hosting Maryland. Boy, what a weird game that was on earlier in the week against Michigan State. Yeah. No one can make a shot. The defenses were both at a high level. Michigan State blows a big lead late in the game. And then Holloway just throws in a 60-footer casually and barely even touches the net. It was so pure from that deep. And Maryland loses for the first time at home in conference play. Still a very, very good team. Very good big guys for this Maryland team. They go to Penn State. Chris, Penn State needs to win and needs to get help to even make it to Indianapolis at this point. What do you make this game right now?
My numbers come to Maryland 6.5 in this game. So, Penn State started off the year pretty good. I thought they were on track for a good season, making the tournament or at least the NIT. But, boy, they've fallen off rather precipitously. And, Maryland, I know they blow the game the other night, but, I think it's a pretty good team. They're coming along pretty good. I think this is going to be a dangerous team to watch come tournament time. What do we have them on the future board there? 40 to 1. You always got to be careful betting these futures. A lot of times you're just better betting money lines and rolling over. But I think having them 40 to 1 shows that they are a dangerous team. And like I said, I think they should be a solid 6.5 point favorite here in this spot.
Last year, Penn State wins this game. They cover at home, but they were the better team last year. Maryland's the better side here. I don't think that what happened the other night affects, I'm big on how teams come back after a really emotional win or a disappointing loss. I think Maryland probably responds here, and Chris's number, I made the game say I'm right there too. So Maryland's the better side this year. There's no doubt about it.
That's interesting what you say. I had a guy in Reno for many years. He's passed away. Snake, we used to call him. Snake, his thing was he bet against the heartbreak. Whoever had your heart broken, I'm betting against them next game. So Michigan State had their heart broken. So we'll see how it Snake, I always remember you fondly, my friend. that was his MO betting.
Right now, the only number in the market I see on this game is 4.5.
Oh, really? Looks a little light.
Bet down, actually, from
maybe
5.5.
Snake got in at plus 5.5.
Maybe I'm probably, especially unless if you said 6 was the one you were looking, right? 6?
6.5.
6.5. I think I'd take 6.5. I don't think I'd go much less than that if you're taking Penn State. Penn State is essentially eliminated from making the Big Ten tournament with a loss. They would need to beat Wisconsin and get a boatload, and that might be an understatement to boatload, in order to get up to the 15th seed if they lose this game. You could argue they need a boatload of help already, even if they win against Maryland and Wisconsin, to even make it to the Big Ten tournament. All right. Now we start the cavalcade of high-end SEC games, and we start in Lexington, Kentucky. Boy, what a showing by Owe at the end of that game against Oklahoma. He only scored the last 20 points of the game.
Transfer a little bit of emotion. You talk about emotion, right? He transferred out of Oklahoma to go to Kentucky, so he was up for that game.
Cats win by 1 in what was an excellent final 2.5 minutes of that game in Norman. It was a pretty darn good game the whole way, but those last 2.5 were really felt March-like. Number 1 comes a call, and then number 1 in all of our power ratings and the future book as well. Auburn, and we talked about this on Sports by the Book, Alex and I earlier, and Kenny as well, earlier in the week when they played Ole Miss. You just got to be careful about taking big numbers against Auburn, because you can get the avalanche game. And that was an avalanche, what they did to Ole Miss earlier in the week. Chris, what would you make this one? Early start time, 1 o'clock Eastern there at Rupp, for, again, just another monster game in the SEC.
My numbers came to Auburn 5.5.
Okay.
So
I made a game 6.
4.5 is what I see right now, which feels light.
Okay.
I think
I like both of your numbers
Oh,
better than the
okay.
4.5.
How do you like that? Yeah, okay.
Cats won this game pretty handily a year ago, but again, they were healthier. A different team too, right? I mean,
And they were
all
better,
the transfer
too.
out. Again, they're still trying to get healthy, and if they do, they'll be very dangerous in the tournament.
Started to see that health come back in the Oklahoma game as well. It just, as is the case in a lot of these Kentucky games, even at full strength, against these higher end offenses, how are they going to defend?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's a coincidence that their best, other than the Duke game to open the season, which first game for flag collegiately, Kentucky was undervalued. It made sense why that result happened.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's a coincidence that their better games in the SEC against high-level competition came against Tennessee, because they swept the two Tennessee games this year. What's the one potential flaw with the Vols? Their offense isn't that
Their
great.
offense, yeah, they're great defensively.
So I know Kentucky has the win over Florida. That was when everyone was healthy, and there were 207 points in that game. So that's where I'm at. I still think the Cats with the right draw can go very deep in this tournament,
Oh, yeah.
assuming that health is there for Kentucky. All right, how about this one? Kansas unranked. Been a while. Polls don't make prices. Put on a T-shirt.
Thank you.
You got it. Taking on Texas Tech here. Look, we know how difficult it is to win in Fog Allen. Kansas has lost twice at home in conference play, which is almost unheard of.
Where's Texas Tech? We got them fairly highly rated.
Yeah,
too.
I'll tell you this. I tweeted out a list that actually not a lot of people yelled at me at, which is a surprising thing for social media. I had 11 teams that I think realistically on my list that I think can win the title still. Texas Tech was on that list.
Okay.
Really, the only shorter shot that didn't make my list is Tennessee, because I just don't think that offense is capable of winning 6 straight high-end games. But here you go. They're on the road. Kansas, again, playing rock bottom in Provo last weekend. Lose by 30-plus for the first time to an unranked team since the AP poll came into existence.
Yeah. I think Fog Allen was actually the coach then.
It might have even been Dr. Naismith, in all honesty, at that point. But Chris, this is one of those where even with Kansas not playing well, they've won 2 in a row since that horrible stretch in Utah. It's Fog Allen in March. That's all I'll say, guys.
Yeah, I made KU 1.
Okay.
Which is, essentially pick the winner, but I made KU 1, so very, very slight favorite here. Like you said, it is KU, and we are now going to be in March. Self is a hell of a coach, too. He really is, but, I think they deserve to be a very, very, very small favorite here.
I got them a little bit higher. I mean, it just doesn't look right. You look at the standings. Texas Tech has got a 2-game lead over Kansas in the Big 12 standings. It just doesn't seem natural, right? I don't know what you're seeing out there yet, Jeff. I haven't looked yet either because I'm still working.
I'll tell you
on
in a second.
But I've got Kansas about 3 in this game.
Wow, really?
Kansas's last 3 games are gauntlet. They go Texas Tech at Houston, Arizona. That is just a brutal 3-game stretch against the top 3 teams in the league. Then the regular
This is
season.
their last home game. Right?
This is they play Arizona next weekend.
Arizona at home
at Saturday. I can tell you, I'll be on Kansas in that Arizona game if the number's right. Do not like Arizona going to that building. Vinny's number is the closer number to the current market right now.
I marked on Vinny 3 just because. Okay.
Right now,
don't make it right. But it might be higher. You might see a 4 out there if you.
Well, you might have spoiled it. Onshore book 3.5.
Wow.
So that's DraftKings. One of the bigger offshores has 4.
Okay.
Looking at Dave
That's
Mason
what
on that.
I respect you guys more than I respect my own.
Let's put it this way. If that thing was south of 3, I'd bet Kansas in a second.
Okay.
North of 3, I got to really hesitate because I thought 3 was 3 or 2.5. I think Vinny's number was right on. North of 3 is tough though, but it's Fog Allen in March. At some point, you have to expect this Kansas team to at least get their act together, and
They're
then
supposed to, yeah.
And then if they don't, then might be another early exit for Self in the NCAA tournament. I want to pivot back real quick because I did miss one SEC game that I meant to bring up. There's no numbers yet on this game. Arkansas and South Carolina. I just wanted to bring this one up, Vinny and Chris. But, Vinny, I want to ask you because Arkansas has been one of the harder teams to figure this whole year, mostly because at times they've looked like a team that was not even coached by John Calipari, but they've been playing a lot better of late, and they're going to go to the NCAA tournament. Unbelievable talent on this Arkansas team, and now they go to the other Columbia. South Carolina got their first conference win of the year last weekend against Texas, beating them there at Colonial Life.
So South Carolina, even though it was a different Arkansas team a year ago, right? South Carolina was better a year ago. They won both games. Now you've got Arkansas with a lot of Kentucky transfers, right? That came with several Kentucky transfers that came with Calipari. They're playing much better lately. They're going to be a slight favorite here. I've actually got Arkansas 2 in this game, but again, it's South Carolina one win. Now Arkansas coming off a really. Talk about emotion. They had a big win the other night. They had a lead at home against Texas. They had to go to overtime to beat them, and they did. And so now Calipari's job is, okay, you have to stay focused here. We've got to make sure that we maintain, because they're still, I would say they're still on the bubble. They still need, a loss here is going to hurt them probably more than some of their recent victories. So that's no, there's no question. I mean, even though it's a road game, so that's how I look at this game here. But Arkansas slight favorite here.
Right now, just for reference, Lenardi's got them in the last 4 byes, so not even having to go to Dayton right now. The 4 teams heading to Dayton, according to Lenardi, are Oklahoma, Indiana, Ohio State, and Texas. So the bottom tier tournament teams from the Big Ten and the SEC.
A loss here by Arkansas might have them as one of the first 4 out.
Possible. I mean, if George, we'll get to Georgia, Texas in a little bit, but the winner of that game is going to be on the right side of the bubble, at least entering that weekend. Chris, what did you make this one?
I had Arkansas 3.5.
So I like you. I like the 3.5 better personally. Okay. I just think the talent gap is big. I only see one number. It's from a faraway place, and it's Arkansas 1.
Oh, wow.
So on Vinny's number.
Yeah. Okay.
Right there. Interesting to see what home court matters in this game or not, because South Carolina fans obviously a little more invested in the women's team that well on their way to getting at another number 1 seed again in the women's tournament. All right, a little bit different in the SEC now. Now we go to another, or we'll hold off on that actually. Let's get this giant line first. Big East, St. John's and Seton Hall. Best versus worst in the Big East. Vinny, you and I were talking about this beforehand.
3 touchdowns.
That's what I see right now. I see 3 touchdowns and the hook right now on this one.
I got 22 is what I made.
There you go.
This is Madison Square Garden. It is incredible what Rick Pitino has done with this team. Yeah. A program that was floundering for years and years and years, and should have been in the NCAA tournament a year ago. Both of these teams should have been in the NCAA tournament a year ago. Seton Hall went on to win the NIT. But St. John's well on their way to getting the top 3 seed one way or another in this dance, which would mean a nice little trip to Providence. Oh, Rick Pitino can turn the clock back on that one a little bit.
Look, here, the thing about St. John's, I give Pitino and the team credit for this. Pitino doesn't mince words. There's no coddling. He tells his team if they're playing well, he lets them know. If they're not, he lets them know even more. And in this day and age where there is a lot of coddling, they respond. So give them credit. His focus right now is to keep them on the current course so that they are in the East region, because their travel would be minimal and to very familiar places.
Well, if they get the East, it would be the longer trip is either on a bus or a train up to Providence.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you're just going, heck, you could take NJ Transit across from Penn Station to Penn Station there if you want.
I got a couple of cousins that'll drive them. I mean, you can. No problem.
Make him a good dinner as well, I would imagine, right?
Naturally,
Yeah.
they'll eat great.
Let me get off the topic a little bit here.
Yeah, go for it.
So let's say they're a 3 seed.
Yeah.
Let's say they're a 3 seed. So 3, your first game's against a 14. Then your next game's against a 6. Then after that, probably a 2. What's a reasonable price? Reasonable price to take them in a future bowl? To win it all.
To win it all. Well,
so you guys have 25.
No,
Right
25. I'm low because right now we lose on them.
Yeah.
So I don't mind rooting for Patino. I had the chance to meet him one time, so I like him. It's easy for me to root for him. But right now we're a loser with him, so I'm trying to be under the market or undervalue. I would say
you're not that far off from the rest of the market.
I know the rest of the
there's
market's
probably
about 35.
Yeah, 30, 28. So I don't know.
But
is that a reasonable price? That's are you better off rolling money lines?
So
well, sure. If you think that they're good, I mean, look. Here's the thing, right? They've got to make sure that they continue. Their rebounding is outstanding. They got to, they've just got to continue to buy into his. If they buy in, they're dangerous. There's no doubt about it, Chrissy. So
if I saw a good price, I wouldn't mind betting them. Right now, matter of fact, I even told my wife. I says, I think I'm going to bet them. And just keep rolling. I think I can do better than 30-1.
I think I'd go your way, Chris.
Yeah, I think
you'll get more than 30-1 if you bet
Plus
the
you
money
pull up
line
stakes
on.
whenever you want to.
Yeah, of course.
Well, and I think the other thing is too, if they get a 4, let's say they get a 4,
because they could get a 4,
because they could very easily get the number 1 4 seed, or maybe even lower. And right now, Lenardi's got them as a 4, and they would play Houston in the Sweet 16. They're what?
Game.
They're what? 9, 8-point underdogs in that game against Houston, right?
That's kind of dangerous.
Yeah,
making them. You can't make them too high because
my numbers would be about 7.5.
They match up with Houston from a defensive standpoint. The rebounding edge goes to the Johnnies there, right? I mean, so I think 9 is high.
That's a very low total. That's a low total if we get that game. I can tell you that.
I'm anti-Houston because of the guy who once told me I was no longer employed by him. So, did I say that right?
Yes, you did.
Let's go to let's go to the SEC again. Tennessee and Alabama. This is, to me, the best game of tomorrow's card.
It's a good one.
Curious what you guys' numbers are. There are some numbers in the market on this game already. Of course, potential number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament still on the line for both of these teams. Lenardi and Palm both have, Jerry Palm, that is, have Alabama as the third number 1. I think that's still probably right with Alabama's resume. But again, huge game in the SEC for both of these teams.
I got Tennessee 2.5.
Vinny?
3.
3.5 is what's out there right now.
Okay.
The Vols, they've won 3 straight in this matchup and covered all 3. I mean, you're talking about 2 opposite ends of the spectrum here, right? You've got one of the highest scoring teams in the country in Alabama and one of the better defensive teams in Tennessee. So if you believe the old adage about, defense wins championships, then, then certainly you're probably going to support Tennessee. But it's a close game. And, Alabama can defend when they want to.
Yep.
This is a game they're going to have to defend. But as we get into the tournament too, current form is going to come into play. To Chris's point in the first segment, you're going to have somebody, and it could be somebody in one of the Power 5 conferences. It could be a team that really outside of the Power 5 that nobody's really talking about. It could be a Drake that comes out of nowhere, even though their record is very good, but they get overshadowed by the SEC and the other power conferences. So they could be a team like that. So current form is going to come into play too.
Let me just say, I love that Midwest basketball. It just seems like those kids are tough.
Yeah, they're very tough.
Alabama's remaining regular season schedule is as follows: at Tennessee, Florida, at Auburn.
There you go.
Fun stretch.
Like I said, current form. Pay attention to current form.
You ain't getting too many nights off in the SEC.
Fun stretch for the Tide. Let's put it this way: if Alabama goes 2-1 and then doesn't flame out immediately in the SEC tournament, they get a 1 seed. That's all I'll say.
Think so?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're beating if you let's say you beat Tennessee and Florida, even if you lose to
Yeah, if
Auburn
you
a
beat
second
Florida.
time.
Okay, if you beat Florida.
Yeah, I think you're good. Even if you might even be able to lose to a Mississippi State or even though what happened earlier this week. That was kind of a mismatch, to put it politely. Let's go to Houston. We talked about them earlier. Cougars, to me, just kind of quietly under the radar.
I'm not sure it's that quiet, though. I don't know.
It's funny because I kind of, maybe it's just for myself, where I kind of wrote them off a little bit because it's like, I don't think they have that go-to scorer that you really need.
Oh, that's probably true.
They still might not.
But it's pretty balanced, too, though. If you look at this stretch, right, Jeff, their scoring's been balanced, right?
And they're a really high-end three-point shooting team, which they have not been under Kelvin Sampson. They play Cincinnati. Chris, I don't know if you have to worry about Cincinnati anymore.
I'm not that worried, even though we lose well into six figures with them. So.
But this is, again, what, Vinny, 16, 15, something like that?
I got a 15 and a half.
Yeah, it's 14 and a half and 15 and a half for the two numbers that are out there.
I mean, the Cougars have really dominated. For years, it was Cincinnati as a really a premier program before the conference realignments. But this is a match where if you look at the last 10 times these teams have played, I think Houston's won every one of them. Now they haven't covered every game, but they've been such big favorites too. So this is a series, at least in recent years, where the Cougars have dominated, and being home here after some slip ups earlier this month, they're as good as anybody in the country right now.
Yeah, that's why I would disagree with Jeff saying all that quietly. Maybe it's me because I had my eye on them because, fear, respect, it's kind of goes hand in hand. But I've been kind of watching them, and I've had my eye on them. That's a good team.
Yeah, I still thought it was kind of insane that they legitimately took them till this morning to get up to the one line in these bracketology things.
I got nothing to do with them.
I know you don't. They don't make the. Bracketology doesn't make the prices either, right, Vinny? I mean, that's another one that can go on the shirt as well.
Right on the back. Put it on the
Put
back.
it on the back. But this Houston team, I mean, playing as well as anyone right now. Again, just dominant getting through the Big 12 yet again. All right, let's go to the SEC again. Missouri goes to Vanderbilt. This is low-key actually a pretty darn good game, actually, with Vanderbilt, who got a gigantic win earlier in the week, even though they tried at the end to make it interesting against A&M. Mizzou, after losing to Arkansas last Saturday, did what good teams do and just beat up on the lesser teams. They beat South Carolina by 30 earlier in the week. Vinny, what do you make this one? I really don't know what to do with this game because normally I'd say, hey, Memorial Gymnasium is a very hard place to win when Vanderbilt is solid, which they are more than solid now. But how much is left in the tank for Vandy after winning that physical battle against Texas A&M earlier in the week?
Yeah, they're a terrific home team, right? Their home court is very good, and so this is a turnaround from a month ago. I want to say January 10th, January 11th, they played at Missouri. Missouri won by 9.
Yep.
I have Missouri as about a 2-point favorite here, slight road favorite.
I got 2.5.
So.
Yeah, it's 2.5 right there. I actually think that if Vandy had lost earlier this week, I would be very much looking to take Vanderbilt. It's probably just a pass because I know even though it's going back home with a good home court, don't love the spot for Vandy in this one. But again, that is a bizarro place to play. We see some weird stuff all the time. In that building, the benches are on the baseline.
Yeah, that's so weird.
Everything about
stuff.
it. That really adds to some little nuances for to the home court. So tough spot.
All right, let's go to Duke. Guys.
More than 3 touchdowns.
More than 3 touchdowns against Florida State.
Yeah.
I got 23.
I mean,
Vinny?
I have 24. So
24 and a half is the number out there.
Here's the thing. As good as Duke is, they're getting chased. I mean, you have Louisville and Clemson are just one game behind them in the conference standings, right? And so, again, Duke they want that number 1 seed, obviously. Leonard Hamilton's last time in Cameron, and But this is a Duke, and I hate to say it this way, they can almost name the score here.
I think that's kind of what they've done in conference play, right? I mean, they've did it earlier this week in Miami, even though that Kane team is as bad as anyone at the
last week.
level.
How about this? A week ago, they did it in the Garden against Illinois.
Well, that was, in retrospect, that was even more insane than I thought it was going to be, because Illinois, not a pushover by any stretch in that game. Quite frankly,
dominant performance.
It was a 40-point margin, and I don't even think these final score is justification for how big of a mismatch it was. And it was 40 in that one. By the way, you mentioned Louisville and Clemson. Louisville going from being the worst team in the league to potentially going 18-2 in conference is one of the more astounding turnarounds you're ever going to see.
A very dangerous team, and everybody talks about, for instance, Alabama's perimeter game, right, and having it, where, they shoot. They're mandated to shoot at least 35 threes a game. Louisville's as good a perimeter team as there is in the country. So keep your eye on Louisville. That's they're a dangerous out right there. 75-1 here on at the South Point. And let me just throw this in there too. When you look at some of these future prices, and actually we talked about this earlier in the week. Alex and I had Paul Stone on. Mm-hmm. And Alex asked Paul about futures and brought up an outstanding point, Chris, that we've heard over the years by many, many pros. Yeah, it's nice to hit one of these, but you know what? If you have it in your pocket, and now you get yourself through a couple, 3 games in the tournament, you're positioned nicely. Whether you want to hedge it, whether you want to augment it, whatever you want to do with it, but you've got a nice little cushion there to do some maneuvering. So Louisville at 75-1 is, and you might, keep shopping prices. Dangerous.
And again, I know I brought up St. John's earlier. The other thing with the seeding. Yeah. Okay, like I said, St. John's. Let's say there are 3. Mm-hmm. So first game you play a 14. Next game you play 6. Well, who says the 6 is going to be there? The 11 could be the 6.
The 11. And then we see those games all the time. Those upsets.
Then all of a sudden you do have value.
Sure.
And that's
there you go.
Listen, I love the NCAA tournament, and the way they seed it, I think, is great for drama. But let's not forget, if you're a 1 seed, you're going to play the 8-9 winner. What was it? I think you and I talked earlier. If Duke is a 1, and the way Lenardi has it,
so
if they win, they're going to play Connecticut in round 2.
Right now, Lenardi has Duke as the 1 in the East, with the 8-9 matchup being New Mexico and UConn.
Oh yeah, UConn. I mean, come on, come on.
How about this one, Chris?
How great would that be? I mean, you think UConn couldn't beat Duke? Of course they could.
Here's the other one: Alabama, the 3rd number 1 seed right now. Their 8-9 would be the winner of Creighton and Gonzaga.
Okay, Gonzaga, I think at this point is underrated.
Alabama could be very short against Gonzaga. I'm not saying that's right or not, but they could be a lot shorter favorite than you normally would see in a 1-9.
That is, I hate to call it the flaw, but that's kind of like the fly in the ointment. If you are like a 1 or a 2, your second round game, you're playing a really tough team. I mean, the 16s, 15, they win occasionally, but that doesn't figure to happen, But you're going to play somebody really tough that second round, and that's when the seedings could work against you.
That's when
work for you if you have one of the lower seeds.
That's when the tournament does its magic.
It does, and it seems to happen every year.
We just want to hit one game that we had it late here. Vinny, just asking you on this: Georgia and Texas, because this is a bubble bowl.
It is.
Winner of this game is probably going to be on the right side, at least entering next week. The loser will be on the wrong side. Vinny, what do you make this one? I have Georgia power rated better, but Texas at home here.
I've got Texas about 3.5 to 4 in this game. And I got to tell you, this is Georgia coming off of, you talk about an emotional win at home earlier in the week against Florida, right? And not a lot of people saw that coming. But, these are two bubble teams here, and it's going to be an important game. Texas lost in overtime.
Arkansas.
The other night at Arkansas. They were down. And they made a great run in the second half to tie it at the end of regulation, and then lost in overtime to at Arkansas. So both teams coming off of 2 emotional, highs, an emotional high and an emotional low.
Moving along to that that Florida team back at it after losing to Georgia earlier in the week, and they get A&M, who A&M is going the wrong way. And this is always the concern with a Buzz Williams team. He is a phenomenal coach. He was amazing at Marquette. He's been really good at A&M. But once they kind of get figured out,
you wonder if they peaked already, right? A little bit?
Maybe? I think they absolutely peaked.
Yeah.
I don't even think that's in doubt at this point. They've lost 3 in a row. They get Auburn after this game. So if they lose here, they could very easily go to 5. But it's kind of the deal with them. When you're built like the way they're built, where they are 312th in the country in effective field goal percentage.
Wow.
Not good.
That's not very good, is it?
They're 243rd in turnover percentage.
Oh, man, that's
not good.
Yeah.
They rely on their rebounding, especially on the offensive glass.
They only rebound 42% of their misses, which is good for number 1 by margin in the country. But at some point, you got to be able to put the ball in the basket, and you're playing Florida, who is an elite team on both sides of the ball.
Coming off a loss.
And in their house.
Right. Yeah. Hello.
I think when you're betting dogs, and this, in the tournament, keep track of this. Who protects the ball? You don't want a team that turns the ball over a lot, because that's how you can get blown out pretty easily. And I'm not. This is almost like a tournament game. So
they split 2 close games last year. These 2 teams. I think this Florida team is better, way better than last year's team.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. I will throw this also at A&M. I don't want this to turn into that I don't like Texas A&M. I think they're a well-coached team, but these type of teams usually don't do well in a winner-go-home setting. They're also shooting 69% from the free throw line. That's another thing.
That's another
to keep
one.
in mind.
You have to,
turnovers, free throw shooting.
What is
I made it 10.
Vinny?
Yeah, it's a 9. I think Chrissy's. It's going to probably get to Chrissy's number by the time
I like your numbers. I like your numbers better. It's 8.
9.
Really?
Yeah.
So
I think 10 is right here.
I see it getting to double digits. I wouldn't shock me. I should say.
I think Florida runs them out personally.
They might.
I think this is a good spot for Florida to bounce back after that loss to Georgia, where really lost because Georgia shot the lights out in the first half. Georgia shot a normal game in the first half. Florida probably still finds a way to win that game earlier in the week in Athens. All right, Big 12, Arizona and Iowa State. All eyes are on Keyshawn Gilbert on if he's able to go with that muscle strain that has been keeping him out the last few games. Arizona, we talked about Arizona earlier in the year. Disappointment in non-con, not at all in conference play. They have stabilized. They're going to be a top 4 seed in the NCAA tournament more likely than not. Hilton is a great home court, as we know, in Ames. What do you guys make this number here with Iowa State hosting the Wildcats?
I made Iowa State 1.5. I just still have questions about them.
I made them higher. I made them 3.5 to 4 in this game. That's a big number, and I'll tell you why. I mean, on the a couple of weeks ago, actually about a month ago, Arizona was winning pretty handily at home. Iowa State storms back. And they've got a 3-point lead at the end of regulation. They don't guard the inbound pass. Caleb Love gets it and hits that beyond half-court shot to send the game to overtime where Arizona wins the game. So to me, I thought Iowa State screwed up by not having somebody on the inbound. And then once he received the ball, foul him. I mean, there's no way. Listen, I know he had to hit a tremendous shot, but why put the game in that situation? But so much for coaching. But and credit Love there. But I made this game a little bit higher. The Cyclones have also lost 2 in a row, so they go in these funks.
Yeah, that's why I said I have questions about them right now.
And those questions are legitimate.
What is the number? You see one?
4.5.
4.5. So Vinny was much closer.
Chris, I like your number best of everything here. If Gilbert can't go, they can't score.
Is he 100%?
And even if he can, exactly, is he? How close to 100% is he? I mean, they lost to a very average Oklahoma State team earlier this week. That is not a good team in the Big 12.
No.
And Iowa State got pretty well handled in that game without Gilbert. And look, if they where's the scoring coming from? It's been a problem even with Gilbert.
My numbers with him.
With
obviously.
him, and without him, it would probably be closer to that 1, I would imagine.
2, yeah. Maybe
I mean, that is
1.5, 2.
he still has a very good home court, obviously, in Ames. All right. Now we go out west here. Let's get one more Big 12 game and then 2 WCCs before we get out of here. Let's start with St. Mary's and Oregon State. St. Mary's already has the 1 seed locked up in Vegas for the WCC tournament. And I'm just curious where you guys have the St. Mary's team power rated, because they're kind of the same thing that they usually are when they're a good team. They're great on defense. They're efficient enough on offense, and they grind you to boredom almost with their tempo. But here you go. You get Oregon State. They beat Oregon State in a 57-possession game last time, 63-49, back in February the 8th. I'm just curious where you guys have this number, because the 1 seed's already locked up, but they are going for a 17-1 conference slate, which is pretty darn impressive for a non-Gonzaga to do that in this league.
Well, I got them 11 over Oregon State, but I would say if you're looking from the top, let's say either Duke or Auburn, because I have them pretty much the same. Duke or Auburn at the top. I got them about 12 points below them.
Okay.
I've got them 15 below. I mean, they did win at Corvallis, right, by 14?
Yep.
I made the game 12.5. So, again, pretty focused team. Good free throw shooting team, which is real important to
well-coached team
to have going for you at this time of year.
That school is tiny. And Randy Bennett has, again, it's kind of like few at Gonzaga also, even though there were...
This is a good conference.
Is this conference? Look, the conference is going to get...
Coast Conference is
This conference is going to get decimated in 2 years because Gonzaga is going to go to the Pac-12, and then, you would imagine the quality will go down, even though this could turn into St. Mary's being like Gonzaga in this league, and open it up for the Santa Claras and the San Franciscos of the world. So we'll see. But I like your guys' numbers against the top. I don't think there's enough offense on this team in comparison. And one thing with St. Mary's, and this kind of goes for all grinder teams that don't have elite offenses, which they have a very good offense, but it's not elite. Look what happened to them in the tournament a year ago. They faced a team that played ridiculously fast with efficient offense in Grand Canyon, and St. Mary's got smoked in the second half and lost in the 12-5. Sometimes these teams that play slow to get sped up, their brain just breaks.
Yeah,
and just be careful. That's part of the reason I don't like A&M either. So we'll see that moving forward potentially. All right, Big 12, BYU and West Virginia. BYU's playing great.
Yeah,
they're playing great. They win at Arizona. They smash the Kansas schools.
That was amazing.
Neither of those games are competitive. They beat Arizona State. They beat this West Virginia team that they'll see on Saturday night to start this good run. They're good. And if they're on the 8-9 line, they're going to scare the crap out of scare the crap out of a 1 seed.
They're playing their way into the tournament.
Oh, they're well in now for sure. Yeah,
I mean, they've done that. They've this last 3-4 weeks by them has been as good as you're going to see. So
West Virginia is an interesting one tournament-wise because they're another one of these teams that want to just grind it to a halt. Right now, Lenardi has West Virginia as a 10 seed, so on the right side of it, but a few losses and a early exit in Kansas City.
Yeah, they could be in Dayton.
Could be in a little bit of could be in Dayton. Could even be in danger with the wrong results.
They could miss.
Yeah. Could be in the NIT.
Yeah, could be. Vinny, what do you make this?
9.
I had 7.5.
Right in the middle.
Yeah.
Right in the middle. 8 and 8.5 available right now on this one. And then one last one I want to get before we go. There's no lines available yet on this game, but Chris, you brought up Gonzaga earlier, and you think they're a little bit undervalued now. And this is, for Gonzaga, this is a very meaningful game for them.
They're tied.
They are tied with the Dons. Dons got a really good win earlier in the week in Corvallis. Gonzaga got their act together in the second half against Santa Clara, won that game in a spot which was a revenge game for them. Winner of this game gets the 2 seed.
Yeah.
It has been a very long time since Gonzaga has not gone automatically to the semifinals in the WCC tournament. And all I'll say is, I'm curious to see Vinny, Chris, if we have nothing.
You didn't give me this one.
I know. This was one I realized when I was talking to Vincenzo about 20 minutes before the show. I was like, oh, my goodness, how do we not talk about this one? This is a huge one. But I'm curious what we get out of Gonzaga in this game because unlike Mark few teams in the past, it's March 1 tomorrow. I still don't know what I'm getting out of them on a game-week basis, which is super, super rare for this Gonzaga team.
So 2 weeks ago, Gonzaga wins this game by 11 at home.
That was a good cover by the Dons, though.
Zags have owned this series straight up, but the Dons seem to find a way to cover, right? So, I mean, they're going to be a home dog here, San Francisco, probably about 8, maybe a little less, maybe 7. I don't know. I don't know if you see anything out there, but
all I see is Ken Pom makes it 80-73, Gonzaga.
So 7. So, I mean, I think. But to your point, Jeff, the seeding is something I think that'll come into play here in terms of these two teams would rather be the 2 than the 3, and the way the tournament will play out.
Well, this is one of those tournaments that we talk about where being the 1 and the 2 seed is a monumental advantage, and quite frankly, all the smaller conferences should do it this way to give. You want your best. If you're a smaller conference, you want your best team. One of your 2 best teams going to the NCAA tournament every single year.
I know money's a factor, but I almost think they shouldn't have conference tournaments.
I tend to agree with that.
Yeah, but it's hard to pass up the money.
And again, the winner of this game gets the 2 seed, so they would not play until Monday night. So they would actually also get both teams would get a week off, but another extra day. And then San Francisco. And the one difference with the WCC tournament as opposed to the past, usually the WCC was never more than 3, maybe 4 legitimate teams deep. This year,
it's a good call.
You can go 6 deep and have a difficult game.
Sure.
In the WCC tournament, as opposed to past years, where again, like
when do they start?
They start a week from yesterday. The Toreros have already been locked into the final seed, so they will play on the opening night against.
And where do they play? Do they play in New Orleans?
New Orleans.
New Orleans.
Yeah. Yep.
I think we can get tickets for that.
I think we do.
I think we get.
Right. Steve Stallworth.
That might be good.
Get our guy.
That might be fun.
Well, these conferences.
That might be fun, really.
I would be all
in. We should do it.
I know the other place that we can get in, the Big West, is going to have.
Where's that at?
That's in down the road in Henderson at the new venue there.
I haven't been to that arena yet.
You know what? Perfectly solid place.
I've heard that. Yeah.
Perfectly solid.
They changed it. It's not the Dollar Loan anymore. It used to be the Dollar Loan Center.
It's now Lee's Family Forum.
Oh, okay.
So that's what it is now.
Okay.
Like I said before, I think that conference could have 2 27+ win teams in the title game.
And it's not New Mexico State, right?
When's the last? When did New Mexico State move from the Big West to the WAC, and then to where they're in the CUSA?
Right? Weren't they in? Yeah, they were. They
were definitely in the WAC.
They
definitely.
Right. No, I'm just saying it was always about them. They're the 28 win.
Oh yeah. No, for sure. Out of the WAC. Now it's Grand Canyon out of the WAC. So
yeah.
Grand Canyon will be in the Mountain West in 2 years. It just keeps spinning. Just keep spinning the realignment machine. All right, that's what we got for you. A good show. As always, thanks to Roger and Peter in the chat hanging out with us. As always. By the way, the poll was, which of the SEC matchups are you looking forward to? The Magliulo household stuffed the ballot box on this one.
Naturally.
Auburn and Kentucky wins the vote over the other 2.
Maybe close.
Chris, Vinny, awesome stuff as always. We'll see you again next Friday.
Yes, sir.
Jerry, Vince, Drew Dog, Sean, thank you all as always. We're back tomorrow morning, 8:30 in the morning. Got a lot of games to get to break down on Sports by the Book tomorrow morning. We'll see you then. Catch you next time right here, Sports by the Book. This has been the Free Throw Friday.